Hi everyone, it's Paul from Oral Music Academy here. I was just about to restring my guitar and I thought it would be useful for you guys if I made a video just to show you how it's done. So the tools we're going to be needing for the job are going to be our new strings, string winder, digital tuner, some side cutters and a crosshead screwdriver to fit your guitar. So the first step is to, well, as you can see, the strings are there inside, or the ends of the strings are inside that bridge block, but I always find it's very difficult to get them out if I don't remove this back plate. So that is step number one, is to remove our back plate using the screwdriver. So I don't know how well you can see, but it's just removing screws, so we should be okay with that. So obviously be very careful not to lose the screws because you want to get it all back together again at the end. Okay, so that's all 6 screws removed, and as you can see now the back plate will come away and it reveals the bridge block in there, which means it'll be much easier to get our strings out now. So I'm going to set this aside with the screws so that we don't lose it. Okay, step number 2, we're going to take our string winder, which you can get from any music shop really. It just goes over the, let me see if you can see here, so it just goes over the machine head like that, and we loosen it off, and at this point we're just loosening it off like all the way so that the string is really loose. And we're going to repeat that for all 6. Okay, so we can see now that the strings are all really loose, no tension, and there's no sound really either when we pluck them. So that brings us on to step 3, which is going to be to use our side cutters to cut the strings, and I normally do it at around the 12th fret because that leaves us enough room that we've got enough string to poke out from the bridge end, and you don't really want it too short at either end, so 12th fret is normally best. So here we go, so lifting it up and just cutting it, same for all 6, there we go. So now I normally go for the head end first because those are the kind of ones that are getting in the way. On my guitar I can just lift them off because of the way my tuning pegs work, which I'll explain in a bit later on. Otherwise you might have to kind of wind them off, but that's how they come off, they just slide right off. Okay, and then obviously make sure that we get them out from underneath the string tree as well, where they're trying to hide. Okay, and then this is nice and easy. We literally just push them out from the other side, and that brings the little ball out, which means we can remove the string. So pushing them all through, there we go. Okay, so that was steps 2 and 3, cutting the strings and removing them. So now we're going to go on to step 4, which is to push all the new strings through. So we're going to open up the pack. And depending on what gauge you've bought, will depend on what the numbers are in here, but obviously the bigger the number, the thicker the string. So I've got 11s here, so I know that my 11 string is going to be my high E string. So we turn the guitar over, and it's worth noting now that the furthest away from me is now going to be my low E string, because obviously when I turn it back over again it wants to be coming through this hole here. So we start with the biggest number, which for me is a 48, and careful when you open them because they will do that, which is unwind on you and try and hit you in the face. So got it out, and I'll try and show you here. So as I said, furthest away from me, which is this one, goes through there, and then just push it through far enough and then pull it from the other side until it's in, and then we repeat that for all 6 strings. Okay, so that's all 6 of my strings through. Now you can see they're all just kind of loose down here. But this is the point where we check that the strings look as though they're in the right saddle. So obviously we should have our thickest one at this end, and they should be getting progressively smaller or thinner even until we get to the end where the E is. Okay, so at this point I should mention or explain from earlier that my tuning heads are different to what you might have on your guitar. So you can see there they've got kind of a line across them in comparison with what you might have on your guitar, which is one with a hole in it like this. Okay, so I'll just show you what you would do if you have the traditional one. So if I take a bit of old string from down here. Okay, so this is the traditional one, where what I would do is pull the string through the hole like so, and then I would wind once on top like that. They're kind of tricky when it's a thick string like this. Once on top, if you can see that, and then the rest underneath like so. So you can see it's pinching the string, and that means that when we tighten it up, all that's going to happen is it's going to pinch down on this bit of excess string here and stop it from slipping out. But for my guitar, it's kind of different, where I have to cut the string down beforehand, place it in the hole, and then wind it around, which I'll show you now. So what I do is I get hold of my guitar first of all, and then I take my side cutters and I measure from where the string is, where it's going to go into the tuning head. I put 1 inch, 2 inch, and then cut. It only has to be rough. It's not going to be a major issue if there's too much. It just means that there's a bit more string on there. And then it goes in like so, so just straight in, bend it down so it doesn't come out, and then we wind it around. Right, so I normally only do 2 around like this, and then I'll just get the string winder out. So holding it down so that the string's not going anywhere, and holding the slack with my little fingers, and then winding the string up using the string winder. Okay, and then we don't need to worry about what pitch it's at now. It's basically just to get the strings fitted. So as before, we repeat that for the rest of the other strings, except when we get to the B and the E, we need to make sure that we can get inside the string tree. Okay, so that is all of the strings back on again. As you can tell, it sounds absolutely great. What I'll do now is put my back plate on again, just because I worry about losing screws while they're not in the guitar. So get that straight back on again. Okay, so that's my back plate back on now, all 6 screws replaced. And the next step is to tune the guitar. So we're going to take our digital tuner and clip it on. Obviously you can't see, but that's just it clipped on there. And we're going to tune the guitar roughly, because we're going to stretch the strings in a second, because they're just going to slip all day otherwise. So okay, so that's the guitar roughly in tune. I wouldn't play it like this, so I'd be a bit more accurate with it. But the reason is I'm now going to stretch the string. So I'm going to get my finger underneath it and just pull on it. Like you can be quite you can pull it quite a lot. Don't worry about it breaking. Obviously the thinner gauge strings you have, you need to be a bit more careful, but these are 11, so that they're not going anywhere. And what this does is it makes sure that there's no slack left down here in the bridge, and there's no slack on the peg where we've wound it on. And it also, because it's a brand new string, it will need stretching anyway, and we repeat that for all 6 strings. So pulling it away from the body and just giving it a good old wiggle for all 6, and you'll find that once you've done this, it'll be completely out of tune again, and you'll need to tune it once more. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so as I said, it's completely out of tune again, so we'll tune it once more. Okay, and that's it now in tune, and that's job pretty much done. You'll come back to it, if you leave it for an hour or 2 and come back to it, it'll be out of tune again. It takes a long time for new strings to settle, but that is pretty much job done. So I hope you guys found this video helpful, and I look forward to seeing you soon at Aura Music Academy.